Hi everyone, Joy here, and I'm bringing you another video today. So I've wanted to do this for a while. I want to explain why I became a vegetarian. So at last count, I've been veggie for about 17 years. And it started when I was in my teenage experimental phase, trying out lots of different things like clothes, music, style, makeup, etc. And I always grew up knowing about vegetarianism because my mum called herself one, although technically she is in fact a pescatarian. And also, this is influential, I've always had pets when I was growing up. There was dog, cats, rats, hamsters, guinea pigs, that kind of thing. So the first and foremost reason for becoming veggie was because of them. I felt like it was hypocritical to have certain animals as pets and others as dinner. A form of speciesism, if you will. So I didn't want to become live like a hypocrite. The second reason is that the vegetarian diet is overall healthier because of fat. Now, animals and byproducts of animals contain more saturated fat than plant sources. Saturated is the bad kind that doesn't digest well. Mono and polyunsaturated is the better kind that comes from plant sources. So yes, vegetarian diet is better. The third reason is that I hate animal cruelty, and again I think this relates to growing up with animals. Like, why should another conscious living being die for me? Now, humans aren't the top of the food chain anymore. That kind of thinking is primitive. I prefer to think of myself as more evolved than cave-dwelling ancestors, and it's just barbaric to me. I mean, especially in this day and age where meat alternatives are a great source of protein. There's corn, there's tofu. Yes, I like tofu. But only when it's done from the Chinese takeaway, because they're the only ones that can cook it right. But the point is that nowadays meat is so unnecessary to fill that protein part of the diet. And the fourth reason is that it does have an effect on the environment. Beef cattle farming, for example, causes deforestation, methane gas emissions, and consumes more water than soybean farms of the same size. The fifth reason is because of science. I do love a bit of biology. Now, it's just logic. Plants absorb energy from the sun. So you eat plants, you get the energy. You actually need to consume less than if the plants have previously been consumed by another organism. And this is very, very true. You can ask any biologist, because energy is wasted the more stages there are in the food chain. You need to consume more in order to get the same amount of energy. So cutting out the middleman just makes sense. One of the questions that you might be wondering is, why do I say vegetarian and not vegan? Well, if I'm so ethical, what's the issue there? Well, morally, I don't have any problem with eggs, for example, as long as they're not battery farmed, of course. But eggs are unfertilized. Therefore, there's not actually life in there, and I have, no problem with that. There's no loss of life if life has not yet been conceived. Dairy, again, no animals necessarily need die, although they do, but that's more due to mass production methods rather than the method of extracting the milk itself. And because it's so mass produced and because it's so it's just so like despicable the way that the cows are like culled, and if they're not female. So I try to stick to sheep's and goat's cheese and milk as much as possible, because they are treated more ethically. At least the stuff that I get, it's more ethically sourced. And I do use plant-based alternatives as well, like milk drinks that aren't actually milk, like from rice and almonds and that kind of thing. So, as a vegetarian, sometimes I run into problems with other people, as you might imagine. And if someone is going to eat meat, then I can't stop them, and I won't stop them. And I kind of wish that they wouldn't, but I recognise that that is their choice, their lifestyle. I can't force my beliefs on other people. They, can't force their beliefs on me. But and sometimes I need more options than just salad or rice, and most of the time people are really good about that. But I do find it irritating when people make a big deal out of it and when they talk over me. So like this happens all the time. Somebody will be talking to me and they'll say, "Oh, well, I was having this great beef steak and blah blah blah, and you should try it." And I'm like, I don't eat meat. I'm like, "Oh, that's right, you don't, but oh, it was so juicy and it was really good." And I'm just sitting there thinking, yeah, this is revolting. Because the idea of animal flesh that's cooked is as repugnant to me as the idea of eating human flesh, and humans aren't better than animals, nor more deserving of life than any other animals. Who are we to make that decision? We are not gods. And this is sort of the last reason of why I'm a vegetarian, is because of the Martian analogy. Philosophically speaking, there is an analogy of what if Martians come to Earth and start farming humans, farming people for, people burgers. It's ridiculous, and the conversation always devolves into silliness, and the point is always lost in conversation. But the point is still valid, that if you agree that human life is special and shouldn't be treated that way by Martians, or, for example, in H.G. Wells' book, the War of the Worlds, the Martians came to Earth and they sucked human blood and consumed them, and it was horrifying and wrong. And if you agree that that's horrifying and wrong, then why do you not feel the same way about animals being farmed? It doesn't make sense to me. So cutting out meat was hard at first. I'm not going to lie. Because I am super fussy about what I eat. And as I've grown older, my tastes have changed and grown, and I now like certain vegetables that I didn't like before. Um, and, and because of that, I sort of have developed some unhealthy habits of, just eating junk before. Um, so I I still am super fussy as well. I don't eat eggs, despite what I said before. It's got nothing to do with morals, like I said, it's just the taste. Um, I don't like the taste of egg, but if something contains egg, like a meringue or a cake or something like that, then I've got no problem with it, because you can't taste the egg in that. I still can't abide mushrooms. They are foul fucking creatures, and you can't just have like a dish with mushrooms in it and then pick them out, because the flavour goes everywhere and it's fucking horrible. It just seeps into it all. Onions are also still a big turn off for me. Um, as long as as long as they're not the only flavour in a dish, I can eat them and I can live with them. But it has to be with something, and I prefer the red ones in as opposed to the white ones. Cauliflower is also pretty gross to me, but if it's cooked right, then it's not bad. Peppers are also too strong for me to like, and ditto with olives. So there's a lot of things that I don't like still, but there are a lot of things that I have grown to like over time. I think as a result of just growing up, becoming an adult, taste buds change. Stuff like broccoli, pumpkin, butternut squash, parsnips, peas, baked beans, coconut, lettuce, all these things I will eat now. And I enjoy eating. So I do have enough variety in my diet as a vegetarian to be healthy, at least I think so. One other problem I run into as a vegetarian is labels. Now, you probably have noticed, I'm sure, labels on food in supermarkets saying suitable for vegetarians, and that's fine, that's great. But when there is nothing written there, it gets confusing. And sometimes there is no obvious ingredient in the list that is or isn't vegetarian friendly, but the label doesn't say one way or another. And I have, on very rare occasions, seen the words "not suitable for vegetarians." And I actually do think that it should be a law. I think that the labels should be more transparent about what's there. So, for example, certain beers and lagers, you think that's fine for vegetarians, because it's just hops and yeast and water and all barley, and it's all fermented together, and great. But there is, for the purposes of clarifying the liquid, some companies use isinglass, which is fish bladder extract, which obviously is not vegetarian friendly. But they don't put that on the labels. So it really, really needs to be absolutely 100% clear whether a thing is or is not suitable. Now, there is actually a list online about which beers and lagers do and don't do this, add this ingredient. But obviously it'd be more helpful to have the label on the product in the store at the time, rather than having to go home or wherever and check online. And there is one more thing that I want to talk about really, really quickly. Yes, some of you who know me know that I own a leather jacket. I would not buy it. It was a gift from my first ever boyfriend, and it makes me look like a badass. So I'm keeping it. I can't give that up. Sorry. But anyway, bye for now. See you soon.